Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Mastering Dungeons, your favorite tabletop role playing game news, interviews, podcast, stream, game design. Teos Abadia, Shawn Merwin, 2026. What could be better, Teos?
Nothing. Happy New Year, Shawn. It's fantastic to be here.
It is great to be here. I missed you, and now we are back and we are ready to rock and roll. And we are going to talk about 2026 in our main segment. We're going to talk about D&D and role-playing games, what happened in 2025, and what we're looking forward to in 2026. But as always, we have our listeners, and we need to serve their needs, and we will answer their questions. We're going to start this week with Jonathan Roy, coming to us via our Patreon, who says, with all the great work you've both done developing and writing for yourself and others, have you, together or separately, considered creating your own system? Have you ever made a bespoke system for a home game? As you can attest, I'm sure there's a lot of value in creating the things you critique to better understand them. I am sure that is one reason why the many things you created are respected in the community. Well, I hope so. And educational for us. Absolutely. I wonder if either of you have gone down that road or would discuss why we haven't seen a Mastering Adventure TTRPG. So, Jonathan, every day, every single day, I say, oh, it would be cool to play a game that does this. And there are many reasons, including further in your question, you say you know that it is very hard and expensive to develop a TTRPG, and even a small one-page system is takes a lot of playtesting.
Yeah. At on my end, I did way back when experiment. I was running a Dark Sun campaign during the second edition days, and I decided to essentially add so many systems that it was its own RPG, and they were terrible. And I think that so scared me away from ever creating an RPG that even now, when there have been like so many great RPGs and I've played so many different ones and tried different things, I'm still reticent to really design an RPG whole cloth. And the concept honestly kind of scares me a bit. But I've actually been thinking about it enough that it's not as far as it once was. It's a little more interesting. The concept of designing something whole cloth rather than designing for a system has begun to appeal a little more in my brain. So who knows? Maybe in a couple of years I'll be ready. But what I have had is just a deep love for subsystems, right? Things like we did with Acquisitions Incorporated in the franchise system, or any number, the roles that we did for that book, working on travel rules, things like that. That has been really, really gratifying for me, and I think helps me feel a little more comfortable with that idea of doing an RPG from the top down. One last thing I'll say, which is that a reason I've also held back is I've always just had so much fun with the RPGs that are out there. This might sound stupid, but it really is how I feel, that I'm still trying to play all the games that are out there and having a blast doing so. And maybe I lack the hubris or something that's necessary for this, but I sort of feel like, is my creation really going to be enough to it be worthwhile, right? For a lot of people to play significant time on. And I think I'm not quite there where I feel like I can make what would be there. Like I love, like, say, Ethan Yen, right? We had him on the show talking about games that he makes that are small, easy to pick up. Like that's maybe more what I could consider doing, that is really neat. I want to be Ethan. What do you think,
Yeah,
Shawn?
we all want to be Ethan.
Yeah.
It's my answer is similar to yours, because when my mind turns to a new system, generally it does so because I'm trying to solve a problem that I see in some other game. So I ask myself, what is the problem I'm trying to solve, or what type of experience am I trying to elicit from the game master and the players? And then I stop and say, well, there's already 72 game systems out there, 40 of which are on my shelf and I've never tried. Do one of those systems solve this problem already? And if so, why am I not incorporating those ideas
Hmm.
into what I'm trying to do? Which is why we see games like Draw Steel, games
Hmm.
like Daggerheart, games like Shadow Dark, not really breaking completely new ground. They are taking the concepts of other systems and putting them into practice through different mechanics.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so that's the smartest way to go if you can, because you're already using systems that have stood the test of time and then just adding to them or altering them.
Yeah.
You know, I ask myself, what do I love as a player, as a game master, as a storyteller? And then how can I make a game that does those things while avoiding the things I don't like? And then I ask myself, do I want to spend the time playtesting for hours and hours and hours and hours and weeks and months and years
Yeah.
for a brand new system that may end up just not working?
Right.
Uh, no matter how careful you balance things, no matter how much time and effort you put in, when it's put in front of players, it just might not do the things. Maybe what I want isn't what the audience
Right.
wants.
Right.
So it's just so hard to decide. And I have to ask myself, am I going to love this system that I make so much that I'm going to dedicate 5 years of my life to not playing these other games and
Yeah.
only focusing on this as I sit
Yeah.
before hundreds of new players playtesting? Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
tough thing.
It's a
But like
lot.
you,
Yeah.
I would start with a one-page game, right?
Yeah.
Give me a deck of cards and a D6. So what game can I make with this?
Hmm.
And then let's go from there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is the more likely thing I might do is rather than create the mastering adventure RPG, which thank you for all the kind words,
Yes. Yeah.
but it is more something like what Ethan did with prequel, right? This idea where it's sort of solving a problem. It's a fun experience, but it's also saying how do we define a campaign? And I could see something like that, right? An RPG that details a city, an RPG that establishes all the hexes on the map, right? But it's just a short experience. Something like that could be really neat, right? Something that fleshes out a town as you play, and now you can use that in your campaigns, right? Something like that would be really more my type of speed, I think, right now.
Mhm. And we'll take one more question. We have a lot of great questions, but we also have a lot to get to. So let's take Megan J's question coming to us via our Patreon Discord. How is an aspiring adventure writer to get noticed? This comes on the heels of our DM's Guild discussion, where it becomes harder and harder to get your work noticed among all of the stuff that's there, good and bad. So, what do you think, Teos?
Well, I love this question, especially because it's asked by Megan J. And, we know enough about her to say Megan J is doing all the right things. And we
Mhm.
understand the frustrations. In our Creator Corner, we're going to talk about some of those. But the things that you want to do are exactly what Megan J is doing. You want to get good at what you want to do. And that means creating things. So create as often, as much as you can, but also taking in lots of games, right? Understanding how games work, reading different kinds of games, being experienced with different types of players, running lots of games. Megan is running games nonstop at a volume I can't even believe on Start Playing, right?
Mhm.
She reads lots of different games, runs Alien 1 week and Shadow Dark and, you name it, D&D all the time, Dragonlance. Somehow finds the time to also create awesome supplements. And Megan just released the last travel book you will ever need, available now on OBS. I think it's on Drive-Thru, yeah. And that is the right steps. It's just unfortunately it takes a while, right? When I look back on my career, and I know Shawn, you've got a similar story. Someone today might say, well, how do you get all this great work? That's unfair, or it's because you did this or that. But I started playing and DMing in the 80s. And it took me until 2003 to really be involved in anything that had any kind of exposure, right? Any notice potential. And so organized play in 2003. And some of that became what you'd really call, an actual adventure that's out there. In 4E was the first time I was really getting paid to write for organized play. And then it was, Dragon Magazine and Dungeon, and it just kept building. but I was doing much more than those things for which I was getting paid. And every step taught me more, gave me more, and keeps establishing me to where I'm doing the things that I'm doing now. There is no one thing that I did that got me somewhere, right? It's the combination of all that. And it goes back to that, play a lot, understand a lot of games, eat up a lot of games, and just keep creating. And over time, you establish yourselves. And you might be great at being on YouTube, or maybe you're terrible at it. You want to do the things that you love doing. If there's a social media platform you like being on, be on that one. But if you don't, then don't, and set up your website or do whatever, right? Find those things that you like to do, be in those places where you want to be for the games that you like. And over time, you will establish yourself. I have some more ideas that you can find on my YouTube series, Success in RPGs, but that's the advice that I would give, and it is hard and it takes time.
Yeah, I can't add too much to what Teos is saying. If you look at my answer in our show notes, you're going to see some very parallel things. I think going further than what I wrote there, I think there are some things that we see in anyone who succeeds at anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what it is the ability and the desire to work hard and really master the craft, not just think you're good, but actually become good to the point where it is undeniable that you know what you're doing. And what I have tried to do over the years is help be a stepping stone for people to get quote unquote noticed. Mm. And notice could mean different things to different people. But what I've tried to do is give people a shot to get better and to do the work that it takes to get there. And there's only so much, though, that others can do for you. So what I try to do is say, hey, I noticed your work. You do good work. Here is this gig. It might be writing an organized play adventure. It might be writing something small for a book. It might be proofreading. It might be anything. And then I'm done. I've done what I can do. You have to prove over and over and over and over and over and over again that you have what it takes to do the thing. And I go into every single project saying, I need to prove myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need to prove myself, not for the 25 years I've been doing this. I need to prove myself on this project right now. And if that means one more day gone because I need to revisit this and edit it again and proofread it again, that's what you do.
Yeah.
And it is both humbling and maddening that people know me from this. Because this I started 15 years after I started freelancing.
Yeah.
And so people will be like, oh yeah, I love your show. And I'm like, oh, do you? And they have no idea that I've written anything, or they're not familiar with the things I've written. And it's still gratifying. It's still good. But part of it is like, it's about the work. It's got to be about the words on the page, the art on the page, the layout on the page, whatever it is that you're doing. And if you become a YouTuber and get 1 million followers, great. Good for you. When you write that first word on that page, you're the same as everyone else. and you can sell or you can get noticed and have a $5 million Kickstarter because you have 1 million followers on YouTube. But your work is your work.
Yeah.
And the people that know good work from bad are going to be reading it. And even if nothing is said, there is knowledge that, yeah, you're great on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's where I'm at.
Well,
so make use of every opportunity you get, regardless of what it is. Don't just become valuable to the people that you're working with, become invaluable.
Hmm.
Get to the point where someone goes, "Oh no, I need an editor," and you're the first person they think of.
Hmm.
Someone says, "Oh, I need somebody to make 10 magic items." Oh, you're the first person they
Yeah.
think of because you've done the work.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Be the person that someone's going to recommend, right? When they have to turn down
Mhm.
work, they'll go, I'm not available, but you know who might be is this person,
Mhm.
right? And I've had a number of things this year where I couldn't do something and I recommended somebody, and I felt great about every recommendation because
Yep.
they are always showing consistency and great work and great thoughts and are good people, good humans. And
Mhm.
all of those
Yep.
things, will get people to recommend you and to notice you and all of that. Um, yeah, and it is important to know what is it that makes you happy, right? One of the things that you're saying with like, this show that we do, it makes us happy, but the
Yeah.
core of what makes us happy is people enjoying the words we write and the
Yep.
experiences we craft and those kinds of things. And because that's where our real passion is, right?
Mhm.
We like educating and helping people understand the industry and D&D, but we don't love being podcasters. Like that's not the drive of it. And it's cool if for
Right.
somebody that might be the case, right? But it's
Yeah.
it's important to find your passion, know what it is that gives you satisfaction, and be showing that always. And one of the things I said in Success in
For sure.
RPGs is you might find you hate making monsters.
Mhm.
That's totally fine. You don't have to
Yeah.
do all things, and you can just turn down that work, recommend someone
Yeah.
else, which will always pay you
Mhm.
back, and instead, do the things that you derive pleasure from. And if it ends up
Mhm.
being that you love making videos, well, great. Look, you found a passion. It's all good. But
Yeah.
if it's a ends, mean to an end, that's fine.
Mhm. So thank you for those questions. We'll tackle more next week, but now we're going to jump into our news and commentary section, starting with some sad news as one of the earliest members of TSR has passed away. Tim Kask, age 79, was the very first employee hired by TSR. He landed the job because he had an interest in war games, and he talked with Gary Gygax about Chainmail, the tactical war game. Many conversations ensued and ultimately resulted in Gary asking Tim to come to Gen Con and playtest a quote unquote the fantasy game, which would later become D&D. Tim was hired in 1975 in TSR, just after the original game was released. Tim became a critical part of the creation and growth of D&D's first products, playtesting and editing those products, starting with the Blackmore supplement. He also edited the Strategic Review, which morphed into what became The Dragon and then Dragon Magazine. In 1980, Tim left TSR over a disagreement with the company's approach in the creation of AD&D. Do you want to talk about that for a bit, Teos? Because this
Yeah,
is interesting.
I do find it really interesting, and it's the kind of thing you think, oh, these things didn't happen back in the day; they only happen today. But no, he had originally written in the foreword to Eldritch Wizardry that quote D&D was meant to be a freewheeling game, only loosely bound by the parameters of the rules. And later he wrote, quote, it all starting going bad with the publishing of AD&D, the player's handbook. Here come the rules lawyers, the nitpickers and the homegrown experts. The fun started to leach away within months. Now there were dicta, dogma, and regulations. Gone were the days of guidelines. End quote.
Mhm. Yeah. And Tim started several gaming ventures over the years. He was a university professor, and he continued to be involved in conventions and other RPG endeavors right up until the end. Um, EN World notes that one of Tim's characters was Qualish, immortalized in the magic item, the apparatus of
Hmm.
Qualish. And Tim was thought to be one of the more progressive members of that old guard, popular right up to the end and very visible with even, the newest generation of gamers.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Tim, for everything.
Thank you. Condolences to his family and friends. Um, let's jump into Daggerheart while we're here and what Business Insider said about Daggerheart and its success. Teos, lead us off here.
All right. An article on Business Insider shares the importance of two critical role staff, Ed Lopez, Chief Operating Officer, and Ben Vandervloot, Senior VP of Business and Content Development. They have been executives at the company since Critical Role Incorporated back in 2015. The article notes that the founders have taken on specializations. So co-founder Sam Riegel and CEO Travis Willingham, they helmed the development of the team's Amazon-backed animations. Co-founders Liam O'Brien and Teos Jaff have focused on the team's art, comics, and book publishing efforts. Creative director Marisha Ray remains in charge of programming. Laura Bailey oversees merchandise. Matt Mercer, the team's chief creative officer, relinquished control of the main campaign stream early this year, but has been spearheading work on the tabletop game Daggerheart. Ashley Johnson leads the Critical Role Foundation, the team's nonprofit arm. And that's interesting. I probably some fans really know this, but I had not heard of it broken down that way. Lopez and Vandervloot work on the administrative ends of things, from inking deals with brand partners to content development. And so that's why they're on Business Insider. And in the article, they share that they have a solid 3-year roadmap for how they intend to grow Daggerheart. They also say it's sold out worldwide in under a week after its launch in May. Later on, Lopez says it was in 2 weeks, but somewhere between a week and 2 weeks, it's all unbelievably fast. And they talk about their future of expanding into video games, as we've reported in the past, food and beverage sector tie-ins, but they also stress how much they like working with both big and small partners. A small partner that is energized and focused in the RPG space is of great appeal to them as well. They said new faces are being added to the shows, expanding what the founding cast have built. They want to reach out to a younger audience beyond Twitch and YouTube viewers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just the slightest bit of experience working with Darrington Press through Ghostfire Gaming, because we publish the Dungeon Dudes, Drakkenheim.
Right.
We're doing the Daggerheart for Drakkenheim. So it's been interesting to see. I'm not working directly there, but I'm behind the scenes, and it's interesting to see how businesses are businesses, right?
Yeah.
And you can say, I hate this business and I love this business. But if you step behind the curtain, business is business. Things need to be done in certain ways. Yeah. Sometimes the business you think you love and think is great is maybe not so great. And I'm not saying this about anybody here. Right, I'm just saying in general, it's fun to see behind the curtain in terms of something like this, where there are business development things going on, and working with the folks to work on contracts and work on the business side of things. So it'll be interesting as an observer to keep an eye on the business side of the games and the business side of that brand, right? The Critical Role Darrington Press brand, to see how their path forward parallels or differentiates itself from Wizards of the Coast and from these other game companies that are also trying to navigate this field of game, brand, partnerships, and so on.
Yeah, and it was interesting. There was a website that I guess did the math on 2 weeks versus however long it was supposed to last, the supply, and came up with the number of 2,500%, faster sales than anybody else. And then that got shared because it sounds so impressive, but it's weird math, because the reality is you never know how long your books are going to last. It's just, it's a plan you're making. To me, it's not about some percentage, and even while 1 or 2 weeks is amazing, I can go to the store right now and buy things.
Sure.
So it's not like it's selling out constantly, right? Yeah. But it probably is selling at a good clip, and we'll maybe someday we'll pick up on how many times it's been reprinted. But even that depends on, did they just order a ton of books and now they're sitting on them? You just never know these things, right? And it always gets very exciting. There's no doubt that Daggerheart took off way beyond what anybody expected at Darrington Press or anywhere else. Can it sustain that? We'll talk about that in the main segment.
Yeah. Teos and I have been involved with or know about companies that go to Gen Con, right? And they say, oh, we sold out of our books in 10 minutes. That's how popular a game is. they don't reveal that they only brought 100 books. That's why they sold out in 10 minutes. So, the
if
playing
if they're even
percentages.
telling the truth, because sometimes they say they
Exactly.
sold out while moving those books back onto
Yeah,
a
pallets
truck.
at the end of the, yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
So it's something to keep an eye on. We have some James news. We have multiple James's news. First, James Haeck has become a wizard. Congratulations to James Haeck, who announced on the Eldritch Lorecast that they have joined Wizards of the Coast as a senior game designer, I believe, as of this recording.
Oh,
James said a bittersweet goodbye to Ghostfire Gaming fans on the show as they leave the show and they leave their freelance work for now as they become a full Wizards of the Coast employee.
mm.
And I could tell you who's going to replace James, but that would be giving away a secret. So you'll have to wait. Well, technically, technically I can tell you right now
Yeah.
because the show will come
It,
out
right.
after it's all revealed.
Yeah. So who is it?
Who is it, Teos? I'll give you three guesses. It is a former Wizards of the Coast employee who was let go
Mm-hmm.
within the last year, but
Did
not a
they
game designer.
did they design my favorite board game?
They are not a game designer.
Okay. Oh. Huh. Is it Mr. Tito?
Nope.
So, okay, tell me. I immediately thought of someone, but not a game designer. They left
Not a
Wizards of the
game
Coast
designer,
when?
but they were a Wizards of the Coast employee and an employee before that of D&D Beyond,
Oh.
and were released from Wizards of the Coast.
Oh, is it Todd?
It is Todd Kendrick.
Wow, that's awesome. Very cool. All right. Well,
Todd
welcome,
Kendrick
Todd, to the number one podcast in all
in all
of
the realms, yeah,
realms. Yes,
of
yes.
all the realm.
But I don't think they're that big in Iceland. So, you know,
That
that's, you know.
that we welcome Todd. We say goodbye to James, and we also say to James Introcaso, good luck in the new role. As he on Blue Sky today said that today is a big day for MCDM. Thanks to everyone who made the Crack the Sun crowdfunding campaign a success. It's going to be magic. And as of today, I, James Introcaso, am no longer lead designer for Draw Steel products, as I am stepping into the role of game director for our new RPG, Crows. I can't wait to play it with you. So James is changing positions at MCDM, taking on the game directorship of this new venture, this new RPG, which I play tested at GameholeCon.
I'm jealous. I didn't get to do it.
Uh,
I'm dying to try out Crows, but I heard so many accounts from so many people, and so I can't wait to see what James does with Crows. And it was neat to see Matt Colville today on Blue Sky was saying, thanking James for the unique touch he has had for the evolution of Draw Steel. And you and I know this. Some other folks know how hard James worked on Draw Steel to make, when you see all those rules that feel just seamless across all these different subsystems, how hard James and the rest of the team too, but James' hand on that wheel, right? Making sure to steer it in the right way. Really incredible. And now he gets to do that for Crows. And Matt talked about that you can't live off of just one tactical RPG. You've got to have other types of games. And so Crows will give that very different type of experience, which will be really cool to see how that helps out MCDM to offer this breadth. Will be cool.
Yep, we'll be keeping an eye on that game. And we go from the court of public opinion to the actual courtrooms for D&D. Friend of the show, Alessandro Rosa, shared an Instagram link that says that last summer, the University of Iowa College of Law offered a simulation-based course using D&D rules. And this spring, Santa Clara University School of Law will have students go on quests using D&D as it improves their improvisational storytelling, teamwork, and strategy skills. All of those skills being super important to law school students.
Go Broncos. I love it. I love it. I'm going to have to get my son to get involved in that program. Join the School of Law just for that.
There you go. Son, you have to be a lawyer because you need to play D&D in class.
Yep.
Yeah, and well, we'll jump right into the next story, which goes from the college classroom to the senior center. The Las Cruces, New Mexico Munson Senior Center is offering D&D as one of its recreational programs for seniors. DM William Folsom has been running a weekly game at the senior center for the past 2 years, though he started playing back in the 80s. The article shares details on the players and their characters and how the play has been beneficial, in their lives.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Fantastic. What fun.
Yep. Love to see the game spreading out and spreading its joy and the benefits of it in so many different ways.
Yep. At any age. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And we have a new challenge for 2026. If 2024 was the Dungeon a Day year, 2025 was the year of hexes. Teos, what's 2026 about?
It is all about creating a city, Shawn. The goal is to detail one ward in your city each week, and each day you can detail a different aspect of that city ward, and there are suggestions for each day. So, today we're recording on Monday. We need to do principal building monument feature defining the area, the overview of the ward, who lives and works here. Is it rich, poor? What are the characteristics of this area? Tuesday, random encounter table for the district, bonus day and night encounters. Wednesday, the day that you might be listening to this, goods and services with prices available to the PCs here. What do you think of the rest of the week, Shawn?
I think Thursday we'll look at key factions or NPCs controlling that ward or vying for control of it or just embodying that district.
Mm-hmm.
Friday, you'll work on rival factions or NPCs specific to that district. So where's the power struggle there? Saturday, you create hooks and plots within the district. And on Sunday, you talk about transportation and the connections to the other wards or other areas that this ward has.
Love it.
All of that is available in our link in our show notes. It's aloneinthelabyrinth.blogspot.com or idlecartulary.com. Let's jump into our creator corner where we're going to start with Jeff Stevens talking about 2025 and 2026. What did Jeff have to say here, Teos?
In his newsletter, and there is a link in our show notes to where you can also see this particular issue. Thanks to Jeff for sharing it on Discord. He shares his creator insights and he focuses on how 2025 went for him and really talks a lot about the struggles he has, imposter syndrome, figuring out which products to do, starting on one product, but then really feeling like the audience is saying you've got to do this other kind of product, so that one goes onto the back burner. It was a really interesting read, and I think very useful for folks on our Discord who are sort of saying like, yeah, amen, I feel this way all the time. Jeff also shares his upcoming products for 2026, which are very exciting. So there is a link in our show notes or join Jeff's mailing list at jeffstevensgames.com.
Mm-hmm. And we've talked about Crack the Sun leading up to what was its end. The Kickstarter, not the Kickstarter, the backer kit campaign has ended. It ended early this morning, just after I woke up at 5 a.m. And what did we end at? We ended at 2.6 million, a little over that, and close to 10,000 backers. So I would say when they were asking for a $1.25 million goal, that doubling that, getting up to 2.6 million before any sales outside of the backer kit, that's pretty good. Now, Teos, get to work, man.
I do have to get to work, and I'll just say, Shawn, that as a everyday person, because I don't know a lot of these financial workings, but just as from an outside perspective, when I thought about this backer kit, I was pretty worried because there have been various projects that have been slower than I thought they would be. And this is one of these, we've talked, and we'll talk today about Draw Steel and Daggerheart and Cosmere. And you just don't know whether that's a temporary blip or are people enough people playing the game now? And Matt Colville's talked about this. Are there enough people that are truly like already not just got the book for Draw Steel, but are using it and playing it and saying, I want a mega adventure, I want more expansions, I want all these things. You just don't know whether that exists. And so to see that it exists is fantastic. I think, obviously for MCDM, which I believe is a company that operates in very healthy ways, but also great for our hobby to have this kind of diversity. So thank you to everybody who backed it.
Yeah.
And I will get back to work.
I'm going to say what I was going to say for our main segment. So we'll just say that was our news and commentary segment here on Mastering Dungeons.